Alright, welcome back friends. I know it's been a minute. I've been busy working on a few commissions over the past few weeks and also on the limited edition print of my glowing clouds. If you haven't grabbed one yet, I highly suggest you do because, let's be real, who doesn't need some glowing clouds in their life? But I'm back, and I thought I'd make another tutorial style video for you guys and show you how to paint a landscape. And not just any landscape, but one of my personal favorites. A moody and mysterious one. So, let's go. Since the sky over the horizon is going to be the lightest area of the painting, that's also what we're tackling first. I know it doesn't look like much, but this little line of color is arguably the most important part of the whole landscape. It's not only the brightest area, but it also creates a horizontal line against the landscape that will immediately draw the viewer's attention. After I've put down the lightest lights, I move on to the areas that are eventually going to be water. And what I do is, I paint a gradient that goes from a warm to a cool pinkish tone. As you can see, I don't cover the whole bottom part of the surface. Instead, I only put down paint where I need to. So far, so easy. After that, I clean my brush and I go back to the brightest area. And I do the same thing for the sky. This time leaving areas untouched where the clouds are eventually going to be. The reason why I'm not just filling out the whole surface and why it's so important to work from light to dark is that I don't want the dark and the light areas to mix too much. Keeping the colors clean is what's eventually going to give us a lot of depth and vibrancy in the finished painting. Next up are the clouds. And there's really no science to this part, except for maybe one thing. Notice how I changed the way I applied the paint? Up until this point, everything I painted I did by making a horizontal motion. But for the clouds, I'm, for lack of a better word, using a scrubbing motion. And then I put down the darkest parts, which I guess would be the landscape itself. For now, all I want to do is cover the surface. Since this area is mostly going to stay in the shadows, there's really not much you can do wrong here. We're also going to come back to this area later to make it a bit more complex. What's much more important at this point is the horizon line, the main focal point of the composition. Blending the horizon and the landscape is what creates the illusion of depth and distance. So making sure that it's soft is the last thing I do before leaving the painting to dry. Yep, you heard me right. We have to let the first layer dry now. And before we come back to the painting and finish it off, I would like to take a minute to thank today's sponsor Skillshare. As you guys all probably know by now, Skillshare is a great online learning community for people like you and me to get creative and learn new skills. And since it's the start of a new decade, one could even argue it's the ideal time to do just that. You can learn about drawing, writing, taking photos, all kinds of different creative things. And the most beautiful thing is that you can discover topics and skills you didn't even know you were interested in. For example, the Intro to Graphic Design, Expressing Emotion with Color Theory class. Understanding color theory and color harmonies is a fundamental skill every artist should have. And just knowing the fundamentals already can make a huge difference in what you're able to create. And at just $10 a month for an unlimited premium membership, Skillshare luckily doesn't break the bank. But since Skillshare is sponsoring this video, the first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description below will get 2 months of the premium membership for free. So I highly encourage you guys to make use of that opportunity. So after everything had time to dry, it's time to finish this painting off. And the first thing I do is go back to where we started and repaint the bright sky over the horizon. While you could certainly leave it as it is, repainting it a second time will not only make the gradient in the sky smoother, but also much more vibrant and intense. I also repaint the clouds, making them darker and the edges more distinct, so that they really stand out against the soft transition of the sky. After that, I go on to repaint the landscape. Luckily, there's not much left to do here. Mainly two things, which is adding some color variations to the dark shadow areas, which creates the illusion of complexity, and cleaning up some of the edges, while adding the illusion of detail. And for that, I use a very light touch with the brush, and I let the individual brush strokes do the work for me. And with that, there's only one more thing left to do. Exactly. Peeling off the tape. And that, friends, is how you can easily paint a landscape. How anyone can, really, because it's kind of a piece of cake. Took me like an hour in total to paint this little painting, to be honest, and there are few things as easy as creating the illusion of a landscape. If there's anything Bob Ross has taught us, it's exactly that, right? And that anybody can do it. Doesn't even matter if it's a real landscape or an invented one. The one I painted here, for example, is directly inspired by a painting I found in my reference/inspiration folder. Once you start to understand some of the simple principles behind how a landscape works and how a painting has to be constructed, anybody can create something that looks at least somewhat convincing. Which is exactly why it's not really about the landscape. The landscape itself here is just a tool. It's a tool to illustrate some simple techniques and principles in an easy and uncomplicated way. But what you do with these techniques is totally up to you. Guys, thanks so much for watching. If you like the videos and want to see many more in the future, you can help me continue making them by supporting the channel on Patreon. By becoming a patron, you not only help me keep creating these videos, but you also get access to a bunch of rewards and an exclusive Discord server where you and I and a whole bunch of other amazing creative people can hang out any day of the week. And with that being said, guys, we're gonna bring this video to an end. Special thanks to all my $10 patrons and the artists of the roundtable: Billy T. Henderson, Brandon Razilov, Cecilia Hattadi Tegenfeld, Christopher Morrissey, PLC, Gabriella Milner, Lydia Broderick, Kendra Quinn, Samuel Diefenbach, Sanne Fine Art, and Madison Duff. Thanks for supporting this channel and for being so generous. You guys are beyond amazing, and thank you all so much for watching, guys. Please hit like, subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and yeah, have a good one.